Hi, hi, good evening, guys. Well, this is Laxman Rao from Bangalore. It's a great privilege to be on this platform. It's an honor given by Mr. Prasanna Kumar to be to have a solo recital of my own. I believe this is the third time I'm in this session to having a solo recital. For this time, I would like come up with a different session altogether, wherein I'm discussing poetry as well as since it's a solo recital, you don't have anybody over there to converse with you. Like you have to converse with yourself. So I come up with a questionnaire and with my own answers related to poetry and its other modes and means of expressions. So initially, I would like to go with a quote sort of thing related to poetry. Uh, if poetry should come, it should come as fragrance to a flower. If poetry it should come as fragrance to a flower, as honey to a honeybee in its making, as honey to a honeybee in its making. So as quote that way. So what's poetry? So coming to what is that? What we call as poetry? What is that? Poetry, a flower. Poetry is a flower, a rhythmic rhapsody, a poet's true color. A rhythmic rhapsody, a poet's true color. In the sense, if you come to different people, when we meet different people, different poets, we feel like he's showing his true color, his true nature. So here, as a poet, what is that I am representing? I am trying to bring in my true color, my true nature, my true content, my true style, substance, my swag sort of thing in my poetry. So this is what a poetry represents himself like. So here it goes as I said that in one of my verse that I don't know what poetry is all about in the presence of my mind. I don't know what poetry is all about in the presence of my mind. And I don't know if anybody knows, and I don't know if anybody knows in their absence of mind as well. So it's a different complexion. It's a different complexion of thought wherein so as to understand or as to express the enigmatic nuances of a poetic way of saying things. Well, I was asked in one of the interviews why did you choose poetry? So this is one question. There's several queries. Like this one question that strikes me every now and then. Like, why did you choose poetry? For which I had to say that I didn't choose poetry while poetry has chosen me. So it creates a great philosophical impact on the reader and gives an enigmatic touch to its content. It's like when you say that it's not me who has chosen to write poetry and something has chosen you to write poetry. It's not the arrogance of the poet, but it gives a philosophical touch, a psychological impact on the reader as well. Like what is that he's saying? He means to say the poet. I mean, so this questionnaire is prepared in this format so as to give a reasoning to a question. So here it is. Why do you want to write poetry again? Again, there's another query like, why do you want to write poetry? Poetry is an art of suppressed feelings and unexpressed thoughts that finds its vent to reveal itself. It's not that you make up your mind to sit in silence and pen it down, something. So that way it goes. Well, I quote, it's something that makes you silent enough to pen it down. While it's something that makes you silent to pen it down. So that's the what emotional pull that it has, that motivation spirit or else the instinctive gut that the poetic spirit has to pull you down and make you sit and make you write as poetry. This is what it turns out to be poetry. So here I go with another question. What does poetry mean to me? So if you are in the process of writing poetry, what does poetry mean to me? To you, mean to me or you? For me, it's like poetry is again the fresh air that goes into the art. Poetry is like the fresh air that goes into the art. What I inhale is the experience. What I inhale is the experience, and what I exhale is the expertise. What I exhale is the expertise. In the sense, the expressions, expression that leads to the expertise. So that is what it sums up to. So what inspires you to write poetry? And here there's another beautiful question, like what inspires you to write poetry? So until unless you don't have a stimuli, instinctively, like you don't tend to write poetry. Like what is that inspires you to write poetry? This is the question here. For which the reasoning is like the turbulence and tumultuous tidings of time. The turbulence and tumultuous tidings of time transfers the energy within me to act upon it. Transfers the energy within me to act upon it. That's how I get inspired and I instinctively pen poetry. And I instinctively pen poetry. So that's how it goes. So there's another question with me like, how does poetry awaken you? How does poetry all comes out of you? What does what how does you provoke you? How does you provoke it, or else how does it awaken you? So this is a question. So for which it goes like this: the life led provokes the rusted soul. The life led provokes the rusted soul, giving thrust to the mum mind, giving thrust to the mum mind and mind psyche and the mind psyche. So these are certain queries, certain questions which I prepared for myself and which I believe like I given a beautiful reasoning for those in my own way, in my own poetic way of saying things. So as to go along with the flow. So here I recite some of my poems. Here it goes. Like a poet, how does he conveys or expresses his thoughts with others? So if at all he has a poetic friend, if at all he has a poetic way of expression, he can write it down, so jot it down. So this is what he discusses in this poetry, in this poem. With whom shall I converse my mind, which brings in recurring thoughts? May I whisper to the silent meadows, may I whisper to the silent meadows, that those have passing faces, that those have passing faces. What do I think in this silent solitude? May I yell at the passing clouds, the starving sounds of the restlessness? May I scream at the unwavering mountains? Where do I hold my stand as an identity? Where do I hold my stand as an identity? Silence is my responsive that it reaches to the innermost chords of the mind. Silence is subtle, sublime, and sensible, akin to the fragrance of a flower in the moist air. Akin to the fragrance of a flower in the moist air. Huh, how beautiful is it? So, with whom shall I speak my poetry, my thoughts? With whom shall I speak my thoughts? Who would assess my mind? Lest, else, if it's not poetry. Else, if it's not poetry. So here he says like, if it's not poetry, with whom shall I discuss all these things? With whom shall I converse all these poetic nuances, poetic thoughts? So he says like, poetry comes to his aid, wherein he converses with on the plateau of poetry. So that's one of my poems. Well, here I have verse, I have stanza here. Beauty of a thought should beautify itself. Beauty of a thought should beautify itself. Rather a thought glamorizing the beauty's elf. Rather a thought glamorizing the beauty's elf. Let the thoughts choose the words. Let the thoughts choose the words. Rather the words wooing to versify. Rather the words wooing to versify. So here it says like words they themselves should fall into its place. It should come into flow in its natural flow, and it should convey a thought. Rather, you materialistically curbing it into some matter and pieces here and there, doing it, creating a puzzle sort of a thing. So that shouldn't be the case. Like it should be a naturalistic flow. That's what I want to say. Here, there's another one poem which is like a, or an intellectual note. This poem is wisely owned wisdom. Wisdom, you are a poet which he owns by himself over a period of time with his own wisdom. Here it goes. You are the spark of the kindled knowledge, enabled and empowered, wisely owned wisdom. Why do you want eyes when you lack sight? Why do you want eyes when you lack sight? Why do you want wisdom when you lack foresight? Poetry is not as it is thought or seemed to be. Poetry is not as it is thought or seems to be. Once thinking of poesy is that of blind man's. Once thinking of poesy is that of a blind man's, who imagines of light and its various hues, while the perception is neither day nor dark. While the perception is neither day nor dark. Where all the logical theories fail to experience, where all the logical theories fail to experience, the conscious comes to your calling that you are beyond the blind arcs of imagination. It's an instinct where even psychology or ideology may not explain. Where even psychology or ideology may not explain. Poesy, love, and the God particle seek no logic. Poesy, love, and God particles seek no logic. They ought to be felt beyond the mind matter. They ought to be felt beyond the mind matter. So it's easily conveyable to audience, I believe so. We could have a very good response to my expressions. They could easily understood, I believe so. Well, like all the poems are like interconnected in a way, like they are intellectually intertwined with poetry. This is what I can say regarding my poetic journey and my genre of poems. Here I go with another poem, poetically. Poetically, the title by itself is poetically. Poetically, verses are flown by your veins even before you have thought of poetry. To have it said apologetically. Don't be dubious of your own self as you doubt now. Don't be dubious of your own self as you doubt now. Be aware of what you can co-create with the cosmic energies. The mind is mystic as it owns its mysterious forces. Mind is mystic as its own mysterious forces. The maverick materializes the matter. The maverick materializes the matter. Believe in the belief in becoming as you see it coming. Believe in the belief in becoming as you see it coming. As you gently nudge the concocted concrete complexes. As you gently nudge the concocted concrete complexes. Denounce the once made up or cooked up concepts. Denounce the once made up or cooked up concepts as you release the inhabited and internalized beliefs. Gear up for the bigger and the broader vision on board. Gear up for the bigger and broader vision on board. You can eye the expansion of your mind that you seek. If you can eye the expansion on your mind that you seek. The matter and material were there. Matter and material were there. Just tap the vibe. Just tap the vibe. Matter matters the most manifesting moments. Matter matters the most manifesting moments. That's a beautiful line. So because here you can see how the alliteration flows in its rhythmic flow of pattern. So most of them they are like in what do you call a sonnet pattern, and which has the internal rhyming scheme, which is called as the alliteration. Uh, Very recently, I stopped rhyming the scheme, but it has an internal rhyming pattern, rhythmic pattern. I would say most of my poems. So here, there's here I would like to say something like when a poet is gets carried away with his thoughts, with his ideas, his feelings, emotions, whatsoever. He tries to draft a poem, but he is unaware or he doesn't have any control on the flow. He just goes on and on. But when it comes to that's the art form of poetry. But when it comes to the craft, when it comes to the craft of poetizing, crafting poetry, you need to condense thoughts. You need to condense thoughts. If it is a sonnet pattern or haiku thought pattern or form or any other form, you need to condense a thought. You need to say it in a condensed way. You need to poetize it. Even in prose, you can elaborately describe it. But when it comes to poetry, you have to say it in a certain style, wherein like the poetry emancipates or else comes out so naturally or beautifully that it enchants the reader, it gives an insight of the poet. So that should be the profoundness of poetry. That's what I mean to say. Here, I love poem in a different take altogether. A love poem in a different take altogether. As I said, that's okay to have a heartbreak. That's okay to have a heartbreak. Heartbreaks are often seasonal openings. Heartbreaks are often seasonal openings, which happens without your awareness. That which breaks culminates into wholesomeness. It comes with a certain wisdom in knowing. Comes with a certain wisdom in knowing. Don't saturate yourself in serious sorrows. Don't saturate yourself in serious sorrow, or get marinated your mind in thy misery, or get marinated your mind in thy misery. Embrace rather than escape the humanness. Embrace rather than escape the humanness. The earnest experiences are awesome in owning. The earnest experiences are awesome in owning. Personal perspectives present themselves because different people give their different perspectives and presentations. So this is what I mean to say here. Personal perspectives present themselves in every art form, in every norm, and in everything. In every art form, in every norm, and in everything. Don't forget to count your beloved blessings. Don't forget to count your beloved blessings and worse the things as they work out in your favor. And worse the things as they work out in your favor. Worse the things in the sense, right? Write the things in your favor as they work out for yourself. So this is what it means here. Acceptation is an honoring as in absorbing. Acceptation is an honoring as in absorbing by acknowledging the part of its healing process. While acknowledging the part of its healing process. So what happens when you have an heartbreak? Like everybody goes through heartbreak and a love failures or failure sort of thing. So these things here the poet discusses all the seasonal openings and the awareness that he needs to come and to wholesomeness that he needs to culminate and wisdom that he owns in an heartbreak or the knowledge he gains in an heartbreak or else the light that he enlightens in the darkness. Uh, so this sort of things he comes to an understanding with an heartbreak, a lover. So there's a saying in Tamil like "Kadalicha Kavidai Varum." If you love somebody, poetry flows. So that's a great saying, isn't it? Like only the lovers they come with poetry, a very good poetry, because love gives a pivotal point, the source of poetry for me. It's with most of the great poets, but I don't know. Like it has happened to be accidentally that love love has come to me as natural as poetry. So I'm a love poet. That's the case. So I have to summarize something. So here I go with another poem. Like poetry season sees me entering. Poetry as a season sees me entering into an ephemeral zone, an ethereal era sneaking into me with my swag and my style, with my swag and my style. Poetry season, poetry sees me as a season entering into an ephemeral zone, an ethereal era sneaking into me with my swag and my style. That's my love language. That's my love language, as in my poetic voice, poetically. That's my love language, as in my poetic voice, poetically. It's my intelligence and intuit. It's my intelligence and intuit, my intuition and my instinct. So this is how like my poetry goes through with all its intellectual lines. Uh, yeah, I have to say that like it's based, they're all based on intellectual streamline of thoughts, rather like rather more on philosophy, philosophical preaching, or your own intellectual way of putting it across. So I believe like I have some more time to go with, so I would like to go with my book here. So I'll take up my book here, The World Within, which most of my fertile brain friends are aware of. Here I go with one of my poem like when I'm being referred as a poet. When I'm being referred as a poet, a strange sensation awakes in my sense. In my brain, repercussions resonate. Perturbed psychosis gives a hangover, hence. I feel the hollowness in my belly, madness in my mind, reviving the verb. The pitch of my voice pulsates really as I feel vibrations in every nerve. Nature blooms, passionate form of youth. Nature blooms, nature nurtures, passionate form of youth. Poesy blooms amidst autumn and spring. As poet's pride flows in veins as in truth, I am seen beside solitude shores rising. Welcome to an awesome world of artistry. A poet's perspective is psychiatry. Here in this poem, he says like in a very beautiful way, he summarizes the sonnet saying that welcome to an awesome world of artistry. A poet's perspective is psychiatry. He says like he brings in his psychological aspects into being. That is the reason he says like is psychiatry. In the sense like a poet brings his psychological aspects into the foreground. So that is what it's all about. And let me read out some other poems like regarding poetry. I would like to read. Poesy is such that it is profound. Poetry is such that it is profound. It travels as transcends into a trance, a meditative mood, a stillness, a sound. Mystic morph mind shall be yours in a glance. It could heal one's invisible wounds and soothe one's scrambled senses, for instance, or act as guiding path in the lost woods. It could be the reviving radiance, the gleaming glow of sage's face, the scintilling sharp radiant rays, or the subduing morning misty haze. Beam as in a beacon, beamingly grace. It could open one's insight, make one show the world of wisdom only few could know. What beautiful lines are the couplet and the final touch. Yeah, I have to say this, right? It could open one's insight, make one know the world of wisdom only few could show. Only a poet could show like what exactly an insight could, and a knowledgeable thought could uh, show as an insight. This is what the world of wisdom was. This poem is another based on again based on a poem here. A poem should be a poem should be like a serene scene. A poem should be like a serene scene, a scene of beauty the eyes never see. A scene of beauty the eyes never seen. Nature with its own arms at its creation, a creation never has to be created again. The joy which beautifies quantified bliss, the bliss which bountifies beautified sense. The sense wherein thousand thoughts kiss and gaze, while in ecstasy one has tears and horns. With that teary bard, blind of envy, being conquered by his heart, mind, and will, for the one who has burst it well, still has to find forbidden words of ivy. The beauty of thought should transcend its truth, not that the truth should describe its beauty. Beauty of thought should transcend its truth, not that the truth should describe its beauty. And here, that's like enigmatic touch giving, uh, giving to the last couplet line. So I liked it. Liked it. So here, the most of the poems are like based on the poet's mood, mindset, the poetic flow. Uh, I've been saying this like not that I need to bore you. Like this is my genre of poems. This is my instinctive. This is my gut feeling that poets, if poetry is read by poets, why not you prophesize your poetry as your genre? So that is what my ideology is all about. Why don't you bring in all the poetical elements to it, wherein other poets can read and enjoy. So here I go with one of my poems. A poet is a minute caricature, a self-made kinesthetic person, while poetry an interminably journey to be traveled all alone and all along. The journey with him is not that ease. The journey with him is not that ease. To bear his silence and to handle his angst. and to handle his angst. His poetic emotions and compressed expressions on his track of observatory is poetry. It's not his embedded nature, habituated self, or his own version. While not exactly a translator of one's mind, while not exactly a translator of one's mind, nor the residue of his life's dust, nor the residue of his life's dust. I am unable to capture his moods with this pictorial poetry. I am unable to capture his moods with my pictorial poetry and monitor his moody mindset with the wavelength of my verses. Wow. Monitors moody mindset with the wavelength of my verses. At times, I feel I'm just a freelancer. At times, I feel I'm just a freelancer picking up points on what all the poet speaks. On the whole, even when he whispers, he makes it gleam, and I just try to jot it down. On the whole, even when he whispers, he makes it gleam, and I just try to jot it down. At times, he is me, and many times I am him. But I am a bit confused to know the whole thing. Finally, he says like, uh, here the poet is discussing the poet and himself, the writer of the poem and the poet as a third person. So he tries to bring in different narratives, saying like what a poet is. He says like in first line itself, he says like he's a minute caricature sort of a person, a self-made kinesthetic person. So that's how it goes. So here I have it there's okay. Here I go with another poem. Like a thought should be, a thought should be, a thought should be as though you glow in the dark that do glow. A thought should be as though a glow worm in the dark that do glow. As though the bells of wisdom do blow and the poet's eloquence the verses do flow. A sense of beauty as in a thought of truth, for if that doesn't hook thee by that first look, by no means will that amaze thee by the thousand looks. And that's beautiful than beauty and truthful than truth. And that's beautiful than beauty and truthful than truth. On the tracks of beautiful truth, considerations will develop all along. On the tracks of beautiful truth, consideration will develop all along. As in wonderful woods, as in wonderful woods, poetic paths will form the poet unknown. Poetic paths will form the poet unknown. Thoughts lie in transition and are transcendental. Thoughts lie in transition and are transcendental. When the flash, then faculties, they go fragmental. When the flash, then faculties, they go fragmental. So here, like even it's a beautiful thought, like it's saying like a thought should be as though a glowworm in the dark that it should enlighten in the darkness, even in the darkness, a thought should enlighten you as a glowworm glows by itself. So that's one of its beauty. So coming to the poems saying like there are many genres of different style of poets and poems are written by different people, different types of people, different types of poets. All that matters is like uh, everybody is different. Every poet is different. So on a finishing note, on a finishing touch, I would like to say that love me for what I am, as I can't hate you for what you are. This goes in generic. This goes in generic or in general, like in saying that love me for what I am, as I can't hate you for what you are. Thank you. This is Lakshman Rao signing off from Bangalore. Thank you.